A deal struck at COP26, the first to ever explicitly plan for the reduction of the use of coal, has been criticized because of an intervention made by India. Almost 200 countries have backed this deal that will try and keep alive the global warming target of limiting temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. But a last-minute intervention by both India and China means the world will not abandon the use of the dirtiest fossil fuel coal just yet. India pushed for the COP26 deal to say that the unabated use of coal power should be phased down instead of phased out. The country's Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav pegged this as an attempt to ensure climate justice.
Developing countries have a right to their fair share of the global carbon budget and are entitled to the responsible use of fossil fuels within this scope. In such a situation, how can anyone expect that developing countries can make promises about phasing out coal and fossil fuel subsidies? Developing countries have still to deal with their development agendas and poverty eradication.
New Delhi's demand was also backed by China, Iran, Venezuela and Cuba, and reports suggest it was China that was aggressively pushing for the language of that final deal to be softened. But many are speculating that India voicing this request publicly may have been a result of an Indian intervention looking more acceptable than one made by Beijing. COP26 President Alok Sharma has said India and China will need to explain to developing countries why they push to water down the language on coal, but countries like South Africa have backed India.
We fully concur with the sentiments by China and India. We don't believe that one size fits all is a good approach when it comes to this particular issue.
India was not the first to push for a phase down of coal at COP26. The US and China had used the same phrase while endorsing a bilateral climate agreement last week. Many environmentalists have backed India's position. They agree that phasing out the complete use of fossil fuels will impact developing countries disproportionately and have instead called on an equitable phase out globally that's led by developed nations like the US. Environmentalists add it's wrong for the developed West to ignore the energy needs of countries like India and South Africa that are working to lift millions out of poverty. India gets more than 50% of its electricity from coal, and demand is only expected to grow as the country's economy grows. Critics agree, though, that this could be a huge blow to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's image. He's often pitched himself as someone who is a champion of saving the environment. Many also add that it's just as important to hold the US and the European Union accountable. They're yet to make good on the promise of releasing $100 billion as funds that would go towards climate finance, money that will help many developing countries like India and South Africa make that switch to cleaner energy sooner. Neha Poonia, SABC News, New Delhi.